Hello and welcome to Sci-Fi Night. I'm your host, Sebastian Mel Martinez, and this is a show where we take a look at some of the lesser-known sci-fi and horror movies out there and try to find the right expectations needed to get the most out of them. Tonight we're going to take a look at a movie that's sure to make you think twice about leaving your child with a babysitter. The 1990 horror film The Guardian centers around a family who hires a babysitter who seems too good to be true.
What is the story with that woman? I mean, she cooks, she cleans, she takes care of the baby. What else does she do? Shopping?
Until it turns out she is.
I can't believe what I just saw. Camilla. You gotta believe me. Don't let that woman back.
As the husband gets more and more suspicious about the seemingly perfect babysitter, he finds out more and more about her dark past and her plans for his son. Basically, this movie is about a druid that wants to use human sacrifices to benefit both herself and the spirit tree that she protects. And that's not a spoiler, that's the opening text that scrolls to start the movie. Yeah, basically the villain is explained in detail in the beginning, kind of a clumsy thing to do. You'd think maybe the main characters would investigate and find this out during the movie, but nope, you get the explanation from the get-go. This movie doesn't star anyone you've really heard of aside from that guy from RoboCop.
You just fucked with the wrong guy. Fucking wrong.
And a guy who was in a couple of TV shows like Firefly, House, and The Ghost Whisperer. However, it was directed by William Friedkin, director of a little film you might have heard of called The Exorcist. And he doesn't hold back on the gore in this film, unlike his most famous film. He plays everything serious, and even things that might seem silly, like a giant killer tree, comes off with the right amount of menace and is downright surprising. So this movie has a bad reputation, so much so that Roger Ebert called it one of his most hated films of all time. I really don't understand why though. Is this a great film? Not at all, but it's certainly worth a look for any horror fan. The effects hold up pretty well and the actors do a decent job. It's well filmed and directed, even if it lacks a little bit in terms of editing. On top of that, the final form of the villain is just plain awesome. Overall though, this is a surprisingly enjoyable and overall underrated film, even if some of the characters do some incredibly stupid and cliche things in the movie, and some things just don't make any sense. So, what should you expect from this movie? Good direction, bad editing. What else can I say? I like the way this film looks, and considering that Friedkin directed The Exorcist, you know that he's got an eye for horror. This film has a dreamy and interesting look to it, but is poorly edited. The editing cuts away from cool shots way more than it should, and at times it just feels kind of jumbled. I like a lot of the angles and the way that things are shot, but unfortunately the editing takes away from a lot of it. Surprisingly good effects and gore. This is something I wasn't expecting, but the film does a lot of neat things that leave you wanting more. There aren't a whole lot of kills in this film, but the few that you get are awesomely done, especially with the killer tree involved. And when the babysitter is seen in her most demonic form, it's awesome and pretty creepy. Stupid heroes, cool villain. A lot of people in this film do some incredibly stupid things, to the point where you start to wonder about these people's mental health. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but if someone was trying to steal my baby from me, I'd probably do something other than politely ask a person to put my baby down. With that said, I like the villain, or villains, perhaps we should say, as they're more than just one deadly evil force. Once we kick into high gear, they're pretty awesome, and the babysitter looked pretty cool and creepier in her druid tree-like form. Enough so that I'd like to be a sequel. It's not like she's going to be a memorable slasher villain like Freddy or Jason, but the way that she looks, she could certainly carry a small franchise. Still though, a sequel to this movie will most likely never be made, unfortunately. Overall though, this is a movie that I'd say is at least as good as Candyman and some of the Friday the 13th sequels. It holds its own as a standard horror film along the likes of slasher films we've seen before. It's well shot but not presented in the best way. Still though, there's enough cool visuals and effects to hold an interest. The movie does get a bit dull and stupid at times, but not for all too long. I could definitely see this being a series with progressively worse sequels. So if you get into this expecting something more along the lines of Wishmaster as opposed to Rosemary's Baby, there's not a whole lot of room for disappointment. So that about does it for this episode of Sci-Fi Night. We hope you enjoyed it. Have you guys seen The Guardian? It's kind of a hard movie to get a hold of, so please by all means let us know if you have. Also, be sure to post in the comment section about what kind of movies you want to see brought up in the future. Click the like and subscribe button to help us out and stay updated with the show. And we look forward to seeing you guys in the next episode of Sci-Fi Night.